So for the past several Sundays, we've been discussing the same theme, and I've given each of you a personal invitation. It was verbal, it wasn't physical, but in our mind's eye, where you are cordially invited to let 2019 be the year that you fully awaken. Yes. You fully awaken to the wonder and good and the beauty and the love that is the truth of your being. Really, we keep forgetting this, but this is an invitation for each and every one of you. Anyone remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Even if one person does, I'm happy. Okay. So what would 2019 look like if you RSVP'd yes to that invitation? That's it. My prayer, my hope, my intention, that our work this month, and that work is on ourselves, because there's no one else to work on, folks. That work is on ourselves, that causes us to live a life where we can clarify, where things come up in life, and this is what the talk is going to be about. It's because we got to work through them. We got to clear some stuff up within ourselves. Even if it looks like the other person is causing your distress. It's not. They're not. It's within you. So this morning, we're going to drill down into the question even deeper by asking, what would your life look like in 2019 if you stayed fully awake? Fully awake and fully present, even in the middle of the wake. We know what the wake is. And that's about boating, so I'm going to go real quickly over the boating thing. Do we have any boating people here? Raise your hand. Oh, we have some boating people. Well, my experience with boating is I love being on boats. I don't care what kind of a boat it is, basically. So there's something about being on a boat that is so thrilling. But if you are a water skier, any water skiers here? Oh, okay. One. Not me. I don't even swim, but I love being on the boat with my lifesaver on. Anyway, so but it goes with this talk. So if you're on your skis in the middle of the wake, because the water skis they cause this wake, things can seem fairly calm, but within a few feet on either side, either way, you got this wave of roiling water, right? Which can be very treacherous. And you can send it sailing, and send you sailing if you're not fully awake. You can fall right down off of those skis and water up your nose and that whole thing. And if you know that experience, you know that it can be kind of painful and unsettling. So today we're going to use that metaphor. That's a metaphor as what is important for us. What is important for us to stay awake and present when life presents to us a wake of roiling experiences? And that roiling is that water on either side. That even though it can feel calm, there's all kinds of stuff going on all around us. Because here's what I believe. I believe the Spirit truly intended for each and every one of us to have a life that is filled with peace, that is filled with beauty, that is filled with all the good, that is the truth of our true nature, that spiritual nature, that divine nature within each and every one of us. And in this human experience that we're all having, it doesn't always appear like that, does it? No. Sure. I'll wake you up today. And life just does not feel 100% like that. It just doesn't. And at times we feel like we're standing in the middle of pain and upset and challenges and strife. Some of you might be feeling that right now. So you're in the right place. Because if you're not feeling it right now and you're feeling great and life is good and everything is going along so copacetically, it's just a matter of time, because that's what life does. It's ups, it's downs, it's ins, it's outs. It's all kinds of stuff. It's part of our human experience. But, however, those are the times that we might want to pull covers over our head and go right back to sleep, like this morning. I'm sure a few people did. I see empty seats. Yeah. They're like, they got all those weather alerts, the beep on your phone, severe weather, don't leave the house. You'll be surrounded by ice this morning, that was the thing. Okay, but anyway, the true beauty, the true wonder, and the true awe, in fact, the miracles, is when we are able to stay awake. That means connected with Source in the middle of all of this pain, challenges, upset, whatever it is that's going on in your life. To be able to know, okay, I'm really upset, acknowledging it, but also knowing at the same time there's a divinity within us which is eternal. It's our true selves that is always there to support us, and that is Spirit expressing, wanting us to really enjoy life and enjoy it no matter what. Mark Nepo's book, The Book of Awakening. I want to read from this. I don't know, he writes, this is kind of long, but it really fits in here so well. I don't know if it is human nature or the way of life on earth, but we seldom become all of who we are until forced to it. Some say that something in us rises to the occasion, that there is, as Hemingway called it, a grace under pressure that comes forth in most of us when challenged. Others say this talk of grace is merely a way of rationalizing hard times and painful experiences and putting a good face on tragedy. And he continues, yet beneath all the talk of tragedy and grace, I have come to believe that we are destined to be opened by the living of our days, whether we like it or not. Whether we choose to participate or not, we will, in every time, every one of us, wear the deeper part of who we are as new skin. And he continues a little more here. Either by erosion from without or by shedding from within, and often by both. We are forced to live more authentically. And once that crisis that opened us passes, the real choice then becomes, will we continue to live authentically? And then he talks about it is no secret that cancer in its acuteness pierced me into open living. And I've been working ever since to sanctify that open living with that crisis as its trigger. Perhaps the greatest moment of shedding and breaking for me came as I was being wheeled into surgery. I found myself numbly afraid, spinning from the Demerol shot, watching the hospital ceiling roll by. And I found myself repeating over and over again the following words as I waited on my stretcher. Death pushed me to the edge. Death pushed me to the edge. Nowhere to back off. And to the shame of my fears, danced with abandon on his face. I never danced as free. And death backed off, the way dark backs off from a sudden burst of flame. Now there's nothing left but to keep dancing. It is the way I would have chosen had I been born 3 times as brave. And we are often called further into experience than we would like to go. And this I want to get into. But it is this extra leap that lands us in the vibrant center of what it means to be alive. What it means to be alive. Sometimes we're in these situations in life. Things are happening, and it's like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to be in this situation. But we know this is going to be a life changer. You know, when things take place that are so huge in our life, leaving relationships, getting a diagnosis, finding out your bank account is empty. I mean, these things are going to push us, and we know they're going to push us. We know they are, but that's the time to connect. That's the time, in spite of the fear that comes up naturally within us, to connect with that divinity within us that knows all, that is all. That is the truth of who we really are. Does that make sense? Yes. We can do that in the wake of all the turmoil. We can still know that and hold that. Even if we don't believe it at the time, we can hold on to it. And so if you hit a wake in life, and your mind starts to spin out of control because, wow, don't we love to make up the stories? Yes, we are the best storytellers to our own selves. We make up all kinds of assumptions and stories, and we believe them. And none of them are true. None of them are true. So I'm pretty sure that when we get into some of these stages, it's that we talked about 4 stages of being, Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith's 4 stages of being, and that's the why me stage, which is number 1, which is victim consciousness. And that's okay to be in every once in a while. It is not, however, okay to be in it all the time. That is not okay. That is not good for you. It is not good for anyone else. So now I know that you are in a spin about, most of us are, about our political climate, our environment situation, the health care. Don't even get me started. I mean, you know, we get into these turmoils, and the whole, it goes on and on and on, and the whole idea is, while that's going on, to keep going back to holding that space within us that all is possible, that the infinite love of God has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with the nuclear wars. We cannot affect God. We cannot affect this power within us, and that is everywhere. This genius of creation, this divine energy, that's what God is. And the way to minimize, if not eliminate the suffering, is to return again and again and again to the present moment. I can't say that enough. Because when we go into that future, that is where all kinds of insane stories come into our minds. This is going to happen. The what ifs. But why do we have to live? Well, we don't have to. Why does it suit us to live in the now moment? It suits us because that's where the divine resides, in this now moment. It doesn't reside in tomorrow. It does not reside in yesterday. In this moment, here and now, that's where we connect. That's where we make all of our decisions from. Page 334 of Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes writes this: "The mystics have taught that there is but one ultimate reality, and that this ultimate reality is here and now. The great mystics, seen through the veil of matter and perceived the spiritual universe." The spiritual universe. Not just what we think the solid human universe is, but the spiritual universe. They have taught that the kingdom of God is now present and needs to be realized. What can I do in this moment, right here, right now? God's love abounds in the present moment. The energy of life convenes in the present moment. Divine intelligence lives in the present moment. Wholeness exists only in the present moment. And here's an empowering example, an amazing idea that I'd like all of us to awaken to, really, because life is going to happen. I say that, and every week it surprises me, because always more takes place. Always more takes place. And then I think, well, what are the options? You're going to give up and do what? Do what? I mean, what are the options? Or to really have a strong spiritual practice and a strong community you can come to, and strong workshops and all kinds of like-minded people that you can connect with, and know that this too shall pass. One of my greatest mantras, this too shall pass, because it always does. But what won't path is the divinity within each and every one of us. That is our constant, eternal self. So every instant we are fully and awake, present to the present moment, is a moment of restoring ourselves to wholeness. I want to repeat that again because it's really important. And wholeness simply means nothing is missing. Nothing is missing. Every instant we are fully and awake, present to the present moment, a moment of restoring ourselves to wholeness. And why? These are all nice words, but why? Because when we turn our attention away from our stories, who's a good storyteller in here to their own selves? No one even knows your story. It's just you telling it to yourself and believing it, responding to it, reacting to it, and going crazy from it. Yeah? Well, if you're like me, I don't know. I can't speak for you. And then this is what I do, though. I turn to the present moment, right here, right now. What can I do to move ahead? How can I restore myself to a place of peace and balance in this moment now, this present moment? And when we do that, we enter into this limitless field of intelligence, because that divine energy that created us is a genius, absolute genius. Holmes would say that love is the grandest healing and drawing power on earth. Love. The atoms, the molecules, the cells of our bodies actually, this is amazing, actually recognize themselves in greater or lesser degrees of wholeness depending on how we live our lives in this now moment. Every part of our physicality, as well as our emotional state and our spiritual state, are formed, physically formed new cells on how we are responding and living in the now moment. And Holmes also writes this on page 53. We should learn to control our thought processes and bring them into line with reality. And reality, we mean divinity. Thought should tend more and more toward an affirmative attitude of mind that is positive, stable, and above all else, toward a real unity with spirit that is already complete and perfect. We should be able to look a discordant fact in the face and deny its reality, he says, since we know its seeming reality is borrowed from illusion, from chaos and old night. Our stand is one of perfection. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. And that's from Matthew chapter 5, verse 48. We should be able to look at a wrong condition. We think it's a wrong condition, this is Holmes writing, with the knowledge that we can change it. That's powerful. The realization that we have this ability must be gained by the application of our knowledge. We have that power. That's why we say over and over again that we are powerful beings. We truly are. Because no matter what life throws at us, we can rise and we can keep on rising and nothing's going to keep us down, and that's a choice. That is a choice. And there is no better place to support you in gaining and applying this knowledge than here, than in a room with like-minded people who know that spiritual truth, who believe in that spiritual truth, and who live that spiritual truth as best they can. Each and every one of us, we can only do it as best we can. The community here on Sunday morning, the community that occurs in our classes, we have a practitioner class going now and a ministerial seminary that is occurring right now. And the healing and what they're holding for this community is beyond anything I could express. It's absolutely astounding. It truly is. Your participation in this community makes a huge difference on your personal awakening. You might be thinking, well, I'm not awake enough to help anyone else. What am I going to do? I'm not awake enough. So I heard this analogy once about the power of community to help us wake up, that I really like this. So imagine that you are at a summer camp and a whole bunch of you are staying in this one cabin. You all have to be up by 6:30 in the morning. And that's when the morning activities begin. So you are in charge of waking everyone up. That's your job. So you set your alarm clock, but today you set your clock, your watch, your cell phone to go off at 6:30. And now your phone goes off. You're in this deep, really great sleep, but you wake up, you're groggy, you're not fully awake, but you are awake a little bit. You are awake enough to go around in the cabin and wake each person up, okay? The point of this little story is that you don't have to be fully and completely awake. You do not to help someone else wake up. And that's a powerful thing to know. You're not going to be fully evolved. You know, there are times where you might feel that way and there are times where you won't, but you are awake enough to make a difference in your life and in everyone else's life. You make a difference in all of our awakenings. So remember this quote from Mark Nepo's book, The Book of Awakening. We are often called further into experience than we'd like to go. But it is this extra leap that lands us in the vibrant center of what it means to be alive. Are you being called for right now? Stuff going on in your life. Circumstances. These are all passable. These are all changeable. And you don't want to go. You don't want to have it. Nobody wants to have some of those experiences we have, but we're going to have them. And what I am inviting us to do is to stay awake, to navigate our lives in the middle of these challenges, in the middle of the pain and the grief and all of the stuff that comes up. And know that truly, and this is so true, we are blessed beyond our knowledge. We don't even know how much we are blessed because we have within us the power to do all things. We talk about the divine energy as divinity, as God. And it's possible of all abundance, all wholeness, all peace, all joy, all beauty. Well, that's us. That's in us. That is who we truly are. And so I'm inviting all of us as we move into 2019 to remember this. To remember this, I don't care what's going on in anyone's life, in my life, but I do care that we remember at the same time we're going through it, that we are powerful beings, that we are creating a wonderful life for ourselves, and all of it adds to the richness and the beauty of our lives. And so as we go into 2019, go ahead.